The expiration date stamped on your canned goods isn't a hard cut-off. It's just a peak quality guess, and the cheapest foods in your pantry quietly outlast every single can on the shelf. Subscribe to Shelf Alert and turn on the bell for more practical food stockpiling and preparedness tips every week. So let's clear that up first, because it changes how you shop. That printed date means peak quality. It's the point where the maker says the flavour and texture are at their best. It is not the moment the food turns dangerous. Store things right, and a lot of your pantry keeps going for years past that little stamp. And here's the fun part. Some of the cheapest foods you can buy beat every can in the cupboard. Hands down. We're counting down 7 of them. Everyday staples you can grab for pennies at Aldi, Lidl, Walmart or Costco. No prepper budget required, just a few dollars a trip. Let's start at number 7, white rice. Kept dry in an airtight container away from heat, plain white rice holds for years. And if you seal it in a food-grade bucket with an oxygen absorber, we're talking decades. That little oxygen absorber is the whole trick. It pulls the air out so nothing can go stale or buggy. Here's the buying tip that matters. Choose white over brown. Brown rice looks healthier, sure, but brown rice's oils go rancid faster. Those natural oils turn on you in a year or two. White rice has had them stripped away, and that's exactly why it lasts so long. Quick, go check your pantry right now. How old is that bag of rice? Keep that number in mind. I think you're going to be surprised how safe it still is. Number 6, dried beans. Lentils, pinto, black beans, whatever you like. This is cheap protein that lasts a decade or more. A bag costs almost nothing, and it sits quietly on the shelf doing its job for years. Now, do older beans change? A little. The really old ones just need a longer soak and a longer cook to soften up. That's it. That's the whole downside. When you buy, look for beans that are smooth and unbroken. No cracks, no shriveled ones. Then store them cool and dark. A pantry shelf away from the stove is perfect. Number 5, rolled oats. Your basic breakfast staple, and it keeps for years in a sealed container. This one's a favourite of mine because it's so ordinary nobody thinks of it as long-term food. But it is. One rule when you buy. Get plain rolled oats, not the flavoured instant packets. Those little packets are full of sugar and extras that cut the shelf life down. Plain oats, sealed up, kept away from moisture. Moisture is the enemy here. Damp gets in, and oats clump and spoil. Keep them dry, and they'll outlast the box they came in by years. And if you've already got one of these 3 at home, you're further ahead than you think. You didn't even mean to prep. You just went grocery shopping. So let's tally where we are. Rice, beans, oats. Add it up, and you've spent, what, a handful of dollars? And every one of them is already outlasting the whole rest of your pantry. The sauces, the canned soup, the boxed dinners with their nervous little dates. We've barely opened our wallets, and we're winning. So the obvious question is, how far can this go? How cheap and how ordinary can a food be and still beat a can? Here's where it gets good. So far, every food on this list has still been something that eventually ages. Rice slowly gives in. Beans get tougher. Oats want to stay dry. But the next one, number 4, doesn't age at all. It doesn't spoil. Not in years, not in decades. It is essentially forever. And it's sitting in almost every kitchen right now, including yours. That food that doesn't age at all, the one sitting in almost every kitchen, is number 4, plain salt. And this is the moment the list quietly shifts gears. Up to now, we've been talking about years. Salt drags us into lifetimes. Here's the simple truth. Salt doesn't spoil. It's a mineral, not something living, so there's nothing in it to rot, go stale, or turn rancid. Kept dry, a box of plain table salt is essentially forever. That printed date on the side? Peak quality, not a hard cut-off. And with salt, even that barely means anything. Be honest with me for a second. When did you last think of salt as a survival food? Most people never do. It's the thing you shake onto fries without a thought. But step back and look at what it actually does. It seasons every meal you'll ever cook. And long before refrigerators existed, it was how people kept meat and fish from going bad through the winter. Salt doesn't just last, it makes other food last. Storage couldn't be easier. Keep it dry. That's the whole ritual. Moisture is its only real enemy, so an airtight container in a cool cupboard and you're done. One buying tip though. Skip the fancy blends loaded with additives and anti-caking agents. Plain salt, the cheap boxed kind, is the one that lasts and the one that costs you pennies a trip. A couple of boxes and you're set for a very long time. Which brings us to number 3, and this one always gets a reaction. Honey. Real pure honey basically never goes bad. The reason is simple chemistry. Honey holds almost no moisture, and it's naturally acidic, so bacteria and mold just can't get a foothold. It preserves itself. Want proof? Archaeologists have reportedly opened ancient Egyptian tombs, thousands of years old, and found pots of honey still edible. Sealed away since the pharaohs, and still good. Now, you're not storing yours for 3,000 years, but that tells you everything about the kind of shelf life we're talking about. Type yes in the comments if there's a jar of honey in your kitchen right now, because it may quietly outlast almost everything else you own. A couple of practical notes. Over time, honey often crystallizes. It turns thick, cloudy, a little grainy. That is not spoilage. It's completely normal and it's easily fixed. Set the jar in a bowl of warm water, let it sit, stir now and then, and it flows golden and smooth again. Good as new. And when you buy, read the label. You want pure honey, not honey syrup, blends cut with corn syrup or added sugars. Those cheaper blends don't have the same staying power. Pure honey, stored dry with the lid on tight, is the one that lasts. Number 2 rounds out our sweet and savoury trio. Sugar. White or brown is the same story. Kept dry and airtight, sugar never truly goes bad. Like salt, it's not alive, so there's nothing to rot. The one thing that happens is clumping. Brown sugar especially likes to harden into a brick if air gets to it. And there's an old kitchen trick for that, one your grandmother probably knew. Drop a single slice of bread into the container with the hardened brown sugar, seal it up, and give it a day. The sugar pulls the moisture from the bread and softens right back to scoopable. Costs you nothing. Store your sugar in a sealed canister, cool and dry. Label the date you bought it, and it'll be there whenever you need it. So look at what we've lined up now. Salt, honey, and sugar sitting together on the shelf. The quiet cornerstones. 2 preservers and a sweetener. Everyday things you can grab for a few dollars, and every one of them survives, for all practical purposes, indefinitely. Which raises a real question. If these 3 basically never expire, what on earth could earn the number 1 spot above foods that last forever? It can't just be about lasting longest. No, the top of this list earns it for a different reason entirely. It's the one shelf-stable, everyday staple almost every family forgets to plan for, and it beats every can of its kind on the shelf. And it beats every can of its kind, hands down. Number 1 is powdered milk. Non-fat dry milk, to be exact. Think about that can of evaporated milk sitting in the back of your pantry. It's fine, it works, but it's got a printed date. And once that date passes, you start wondering. Non-fat dry milk plays a different game entirely. Sealed and unopened, stored cool and dry, it holds for years. Far longer than any canned milk you'll find on the shelf. And here's why it earns the top spot. Milk is a daily staple in most homes, and almost nobody thinks to stockpile it. Coffee, cereal, baking, a glass for the kids. When the fresh stuff runs out, you're stuck. A bag of powdered milk quietly solves that. Powdered milk. I'd bet it's the one item on this whole list you haven't stocked yet. Am I right? Most folks never think of it. That's exactly why it's number one. Storage is the same calm ritual we've done all along. Keep it cool, keep it dry, keep it sealed. For the long haul, drop it in an airtight container with an oxygen absorber and rotate every few years so you're always working through the older bags first. When you buy, reach for non-fat over whole. It's a simple rule. Less fat means less rancidity. Whole milk powder carries more oils, and oils are what go off. Non-fat just keeps going. Mix a scoop with water, and you've got a real glass of milk, poured fresh from something that's been on your shelf for years. So, look at what we've built. White rice, dried beans, rolled oats, salt, honey, sugar, and now powdered milk. Rice, beans, oats, salt, honey, sugar, and powdered milk. Line them up on one shelf and there it is. 7 of the cheapest foods in any store, and every single one of them outlasts almost anything with a printed date stamped on it. Remember where we started? Those dates on your canned goods are about peak quality, not a hard cut-off. And here's the quiet joke of it all. The cheap stuff wins. The pennies a bag basics outlast the expensive cans year after year. That's the pattern paying off in full. We barely spent anything. A few dollars a trip, a bag here, a jar there. And what you get back is real independence. Not a bunker, not a doomsday hoard, just a solid, shelf-stable foundation that means your family eats well no matter what the week throws at you. Cheap foods, quietly beating everything around them. That's the whole story. Now, how do you actually build this? Not the way you're maybe picturing. Don't run out and clear the shelf. Don't panic buy. Don't wipe out the rice aisle so the next person finds it empty. That's not preparedness. That's the opposite of calm. Real readiness is slower and a lot easier on your wallet. Here's your one calm action. Add just one of these 7 to your next normal shopping trip. That's it. 1 bag of rice this week, a bag of beans next time, oats the trip after that. You're already at the store anyway. Drop 1 item in the basket. No special budget, no big shopping run. Get it home, store it right. Airtight container, cool and dark, oxygen absorber if you've got one. And then do the one thing most people skip. Grab a marker and label the date you bought it. Write on the lid. Store it right and label the date. Now you always know what you have and how old it is. Do that a handful of times, and without ever feeling it, you've built a reserve that outlasts your whole pantry. 1 trip at a time. That's the pace. That's the whole method. Because here's the thing I want you to carry out of here. Being ready isn't an alarm, it's common sense. It's not fear. It's not stockpiling for the end of the world. It's the same instinct as keeping a spare tire in the trunk. You hope you never need it, and you're glad it's there. So start small. Pick one of the 7. Grab it on your next run. Store it right. Label the date. Then do it again. Step by step, a jar and a bag at a time, you'll build something real. And you'll feel it. Prepared, calm, in control. That's what we do here at Shelf Alert. Keep building with us, one sensible step at a time. See you on the next one, friends.